Happy Tuesday, everybody. So, for those who are here early in chat, we'll probably mention it a couple times just because I love Dr. Maz. The Amazon Research Center of Ornamental Fishes is hosting a raffle where you could win a trip for two to Peru. Just saying, I put a link in chat. I'll repost it a couple times throughout the night, but I have to give that a little bit of love because, there are a lot of us fish nerds that would love an opportunity to go to Peru, especially at the Amazon Research Center. It'd be a once-in-a-lifetime experience for a lucky fish nerd. So, plus all the benefits of the raffle and proceeds go to help them out and do all the amazing and wonderful things they do. So, I'm going to take my headphones off because I just realized I still have them on from when I was audio testing as fast as possible. I've been working late a lot. Can you tell? Not even paying attention to my own face, head. What a nightmare. Okay, so I don't have a topic for tonight because I've been working a ton, for one, and two, I was talking to my good friend Jason over at Redfish Bluefish. We were aligning schedules. I'm headed out his way this weekend, so I'll be delivering some blue Hawaiian Moscow guppies to him. I think we're shooting for at least 30 pairs going to him. As a FYI, when I deliver fish to Jason, I do my best to get younger fish. So I'm looking for relatively young adults or like literally on the verge, so, because they ship a little better. And that way, for those who want to buy the fish, hopefully you don't run into that problem where, like, guppies are kind of short-lived. You want to have your guppies for a little bit of time and not just like, look, they dropped one batch of fry and keeled over. That sucks. So that's why it's like, I say at least 30 pairs because it's a matter of finding more young fish and not some of the older, like boys mostly in the tank. And not to say that they're olds, but just trying to find specifically young ones that have good color, good finish, and are ready to rock. And as a part of that conversation, Jason said, hey, when's your next live stream? It's like Tuesday. It's like, cool. I have some fish I want you to give away. It's like, all right. But then he sent me pictures. And I'll start with the first picture he sent me, which is this. Now, you guys probably saw the thumbnail, but this is a clown angelfish. And there's a couple different varieties of these, so that you have the kind of like, I like to refer to these smudge spots as like thumbprints, because they look kind of like a thumbprint if you got your finger in some ink and did actual thumbprints, right? But there's kind of two varieties that I've seen. There's the Pinoy version, which is that blue, so a cross between the Pinoy blues and a different fish to create this pattern. And then there's these ones, and I like these ones a lot more because for me, that big gold orange blush at the top really pops super well. And if you look at the pictures of the other ones on Jason's website, the Pinoy blues, they're not quite as in your face with their color. So this is a single one here, and then the thumbnail image we used, you've got these two swimming around. So this is what we're giving away tonight. And you'll forgive me as I've been so fast in trying to set up things. I need to actually like go and make sure my Nightbot is correct so that we have something to actually run the giveaway. There we go. Go to the giveaway tool. You'll forgive me, I'm getting this set up. Like I said, I've been quite busy. Okay, so to enter, all you have to do is type in hashtag RFBF or redfish bluefish in chat, and that'll get you entered for our giveaway. Now here's the kicker. I hope you're ready for this part. It's not just one. You're going to get 4 of them. 4 of these. Overnight shipped to you for free. So he's going to cover overnight shipping. They're all, he said, about the size of his palm, roughly in shape and size. So they're good size. And he's already seen at least 2 of them trying to pair up. So you can get these fish and basically breed them right away. I do think a 40 breeder would be good for them, because at their current size, they're about the size of, say, like a Leopoldi angelfish. I've got several Leopoldis in my one of my 40-gallon breeders. They do just fine. Now, that being said, right, we're doing 4 of these fish. I'm going to shrink this bad boy down just a touch and bring it over to the other corner. Whoop, we're going to get 4 of these guys away. Bam. So you're getting 4 of them overnight shipped for free. That's courtesy of Redfish Bluefish. If you haven't been to Redfish Bluefish yet, let me just briefly show you his site. That's not the one we want. You guys don't need that window. We want that window. You don't need chat analytics. You don't need where I sit there and read chat, but have an example like me pre-signed in over here getting ready, but he's got tons of awesome stuff. I actually want to show you guys that other angelfish, because it's interesting, but I think you'll see why I like the ones we're giving away more, right? So here's an example of kind of like the Pinoy clown. Woo, did not want to zoom. And then here's a similar, but you see what I say with like the smudge slot patterns, and that orange just pops way more if you look at the one that we have, right? So we go back there, and these are the pictures of the actual fish at his store. These are the ones coming to you. I think these ones look better. Now, the biggest thing with Redfish Bluefish, just so you guys know, and yes, this is all sponsored, although I get nothing for it. I get no items. I have to take him fish. Is that really sponsored? No. The giveaway sponsor, it's all covered by Redfish Bluefish. So whoever wins, you will have to give us shipping information. I'll basically just have you email me, and then I'll forward that over to Jason, and then you'll just talk with him and get everything set up as far as getting it shipped to you and all that kind of jazz. I don't need your address, okay? But Jason's well known for being and especially an epistogramma specialist. So he gets a lot of really cool epistogrammas. He gets a lot of stuff out of like Europe and the Czech Republic. He gets them from people that like are nigh impossible for a lot of other fish sellers in the United States to get them from. So he's made some amazing friendships, and these particular fish, just so you know, these angelfish come out of Poland. So they come from Polish breeders, and I've never seen these in a store in the U.S. So kind of wicked, right? Now I can't say like definitively this is the first in the U.S. There's got to be somebody who's probably got this, but I don't see them in stores. So again, hashtag RFBF will get you into the drawing, and I just want to make sure that Nightbot's doing its job. Yes, it is. Perfect. Okay. Now, If you don't have us, Jeff, if you don't have our address, how can you ship us plants? That's a good point. So, with that being said, we're just going to keep that picture up in the corner. If you guys have questions, at Bentley Pasco makes it super easy for me to see your questions and try to get you some answers. So yeah, we're mostly going to Q&A a lot of this chat, and then at some point, I will roll the dice on these bad boys and give them away. So make sure you're here, because you got to be here. All right? All right. So yeah, and the other thing for those of you who've been like, apparently, one other funny story I'll tell you while I wait for some stuff to show up. While I was talking to Jason, he mentioned that he gets a lot of people like hounding him regularly, looking to see when he gets restocks on the guppies. And both of us have been super busy, so our schedules really haven't lined up. Finally, they have. And he was like, "Yeah, dude, I've been keeping people from like beating down my door," and some people, unfortunately, get a little aggressive about it. But we'll be putting some new guppies out his way, so that those who've been waiting have a chance. Sharkfin Adventures, do they need a species only tank? If you want to breed them, I would say yes. And what you might do is look for one of the pairs that's pairing off. And if you want to breed them, move them to a breeding tank. And honestly, for angels like this and like koi size angels, etc., a 20-gallon, a standard 20-gallon, not a 20-gallon long, but a 20-gallon tall. Well, tall, quotation marks. There is like a tall variety of the 20-gallon that's real weird, but the standard 20-gallon, not the 20 long, is great for a single pair of breeding angels. Master Breeder Dean uses a 20 and breeds a billion T-billion angels. Now, if you just want to keep them in a community tank, you might want to go a little bit larger tank size. You might want something more like a 55 or a 75, like a 4-foot tank, just to give them a little extra space, just in case they pair off and they get a little extra defensive. But other than that, I don't think you need to have them species only. They're just right now, because they're trying to pair up, they're kind of all picking little fights with each other. So, you know, there's someone who has my Hawaiian blues. Lady Diane, good to see you. I may have 40 pairs of your Hawaiian blue now. They're very prolific little fish. If you give them time, they will do their job. They are proper guppies. And the good news is they very rarely, and I was talking to my buddy Kenny, Danikin Aquatics, and he's been breeding a ton of them, and he was like, I'm amazed because I've got all these other lines that are highly desirable, and I get more bent spines or this more frequently. Is like, I almost never have to cull your fish. And I was like, I know. As if it's totally my responsibility. Not my responsibility at all. It just happens to be that line super, super solid, super clean, super pure. I think maybe 1 in 100 fish is what I end up culling. And that can be a difference of color culls where the color isn't perfect in the sense of the males. So you don't have that good blue throughout the whole body. I'll color cull those. And like I said, maybe 1 in 100 happens. And very, very rarely I've seen, I haven't really seen it in a long while, but I used to see these like weird kind of, it almost looked like a tumor growth, but it's actually like a little Siamese twin on the bottom of females. So it'd be on the underside of their chest cavity. I haven't seen one of those in like 2 years though. So very unlikely. And yeah, there's a rare occasion where you'll get some red spots that comes through. And again, like I said, maybe 1 in 100. But yeah. So we'll be taking those out to redfish, bluefish. Tonight we're giving away the angels. Like I said, hashtag RFBF in chat gets you into that bad boy, courtesy of redfish, bluefish. And we'll get into questions. Anthony Roybal, hello, sir. Welcome to your first live stream with my crazy nut self. Not that you don't know. So, small story here. Anthony Roybal, who's in chat, he and I know each other from many, many years ago. We used to play Magic the Gathering together. He moved out of state, gave me a big part of his collection, not the expensive stuff. Like, he kept all that, of course, but just he couldn't take all his stuff with him. So I ended up with tons of stuff that was like really good for building casual decks or like helping friends, stuff like that. We distributed a lot in our circle of friends that played together. It was very much I need X, Y, and Z. I was like, I've got that out of Anthony's old stuff. I'll just bring him in for you instead of people having to buy cards. But he randomly found me on YouTube because he's gotten into fish too. So kind of small world, right? Laura Bustos, hashtag RFBFY. We're giving away this side 4 of these beautiful angelfish. These are a clown angelfish, and they are being sponsored by Redfish Bluefish, who will ship them directly to you overnight for free if you are the winner. So that's hashtag RFBF puts you into that bad boy. Okay, we will rush through questions now. We've gathered some, other than the ones specifically on these fish. Make sure I didn't miss something early. That's important. So yeah, probably good in a 40 breeder if you do them species only. If you want more than that, you might want to go for a bigger tank. And if you want to breed them, they have already tried to pair off. So you might want to move a pair to a 20 gallon. Then you should be okay. Mike Stamball, what's up, buddy? Dude, Mike, are you going out to Keystone Clash? I hope so. I'll be out there. Like to sit down and talk with you more. Anyway, how long does it typically take for Anubias to transition over? Do you remove decaying leaves? If I see only like 1 or 2 leaves decaying, I will remove them. If I see a lot of them having issues, then I more aggressively remove them. And the reason why is I'm trying to prevent that from spreading down into the rhizome. So in my experience, Anubias transitions relatively well, with exception to some of the farmed Anubiases that are more recessive strains. So like Anubias Nana Golden, right? It's that beautiful like lime green, verging on yellow color that you get out of it compared to more standard darker greens that you see in Anubias. That one really struggles to transition. But once you get it transitioned, it's super healthy, right? But even in my most recent Fallen Forest tank, I think all but a singular piece of the Nana Golden I put in there, and I think I put like 5 chunks, 6. I had a few. All of them melted, and they're getting CO2, daily fertilizer, and good light. Not excessive light, but enough, right? I mean, I've got a 3.0. It was sitting originally at about 45% early on. Now stuff's really starting to grow in, and I'm seeing only a tiny bit algae. I put them on the risers and then dial it up just a little bit. But that one's been struggling, whereas like the more, so like Nana Petite, Barteri, some of the bigger ones like Hostifolia or Nangi, they all usually transition relatively quickly. You know, if you're seeing some kind of struggle with that process, there's a couple of reasons why that could happen. I know I think you have a little bit harder water, don't you? And sometimes when they're transitioning in harder water, because when all these farms that are growing them, even the water that they're used to is fairly soft water, and they're immersed, right? So it's really only the roots getting that water, but that mineral content and hardness can cause difficulties for plants to absorb nutrients, and especially to go through any conversions. So that'd be the most likely case. The only other thing I can think of is there is if you use too much glue, specifically, if you're trying to glue things in place, the super glue, when it cures, can kind of like burn the rhizome, so to speak. That's not exactly what's happening, but it just, in my experience, this is something I've seen where you could have one that just easily went down, no problem, and another one where you had to kind of glue it 3 or 4 times, and that that glob of glue covering part of your rhizome causes issues. Usually, not a big problem, but on the more finicky ones, it can happen. So there's a couple things in there. No, it's a lot to unpack. The short term is, if you see only 1 or 2 leaves, you don't necessarily have to remove them, but I would, just for sanity's sake. And then if a lot of leaves are having issues, I would remove them all and get it down to basically just whatever leaf is good that's left and bare rhizome, because that will trigger the rhizome usually to start trying to push new growth out. And as long as the rhizome is still healthy and it's got decent roots, it should be able to recover. Big quotation marks around should. It depends on the species. Some of them are just a lot more weak than what we would expect out of an Anubias. Leo 209, so picking up my stand this weekend and we'll paint the 60 breeder 2, then going to sand and plant it. I was debating using one of the Seache Space Echo 300 or Whale 500. I mean, it's a 60 breeder. Do you really think you need a whale? What are you putting in it? If you're putting in plecos, they're going to make a big mess. Maybe opt for the whale. If you're putting in something that's not going to cause an enormous mess, you're probably fine with the space. That's how I'd look at it. I mean, realistically, we don't need excessively large canisters on tanks if we're not creating a larger bio load. The only reason you really look to that, unless you want specifically a significantly stronger pump because you want higher water flow rates, you just need enough, like a hang-on back can handle a 60-gallon breeder. So a Space Eco 300 should do the same, right? But if you're going to go like, I'm putting in my bristlenose pleco breeding colony, and I'm going to feed them like kings so they eat like little piggies, and they're going to cause a ludicrous amount of mess. Or I'm putting in wood-eating plecos, and I got a giant log of manzanita I'm going to let them eat on. You're like, that's going to be a lot of freaking mess. Better put in the big boy. And better make sure that whatever sponge is in it is as coarse as can be. Because you don't want super fine sponge in there plugging it up and messing with your flow and making it so you have to maintain it way too much. Right? You're going to the canister, we're trying to limit maintenance. Unless you're going like an Awaze, then you want the pre-filter so you can speed maintenance it like once a week, etc., etc., etc. But should get you set up. I'm excited to see it, man. I know you'll be posting pictures. I know how you roll. Also has Dark Knight Rams. You pulled the trigger on those bad boys, huh? Pull the trigger on those bad boys. All right. I appreciate the super chat, my guy. I appreciate it. Man, Dark Knight Rams are they're a thing. Did you get those like the pure black ones that you showed pictures of? The ones that are like almost no orange color in them whatsoever? Because to me, I wonder, as a hobbyist, right? I wonder until you start getting into like the crazy person realm that a lot of us are, right? If we're all here in a fish live stream, we're a little crazy about fish. Just a little bit. I wonder how, if you're like at the level of appeal of a local fish store, where you have more casual people or people doing fish tanks for their kids and things like that, how popular like the super dark, almost pure black Dark Knight Rams can do in a situation like that. Now, granted, Leo, I know you do a lot of this because you got kind of some collectoritis. Like I had early in my return to aquatics where I just bought like everything under the sun. Was like, is it a rainbow fish? Do I own it? No, probably gonna buy it. That's so stupid, but we get things because we like them. So the real question is like, are you planning on breeding them? And if so, are you planning on doing it like mostly through aquabid? Because if so, you'll be fine. Or, like dance fish, or rather than dance fish, maybe like gills, or I can't remember the name of the one that Aquatic Arts put together. Because I remember the first time I saw it was at Triple Crown. And I just looked at the name and was like, that name sucks. It didn't make any sense to me. And they were like tying themselves to this brand. It's like something like VV or I don't know. Somebody's going to correct me. Somebody will help me out. But you know what I'm talking about. It's similar to Get Gills, but it's Aquatic Arts is the kind of the backbone of it. I should ask my buddy Alex because like he knows. Yeah, there it is. VV. I think it's a bad name for fish. I'm sure it means something, but I think for a fish website, it's terrible. Personal opinion. It's like Get Gills, totally understand. Gonna get fish, right? Makes sense. What the clown V. Way, thank you. Chad, that's why I love you. Paul Saltero says, I've been told by someone who breeds the black rams that they're really aggressive, especially when compared to lighter color morphs. That's interesting. You know, I haven't heard that from Dean in the ones that he's bred, but what he has seen is his Dark Knight rams, and he's worked on this line for a while. They still throw a good number of gold rams. So it shows that the line isn't like perfect yet. It's not like a lot of our Pisto lines where they're really reliable on the color. Even some of the like think Agassiz double reds, some of those things that are a little more designer, if you will. But yeah. Kelly Foreman, I really like the name Dan's Fish for a website. You should probably just get all your fish there. There's a number of great fish retailers. Today, I'm going to give lots of love to Redfish Bluefish because he's sponsoring an awesome giveaway of these bad boys. But yes, I do love Dan's Fish. I probably am going to relatively soon spend a dumb amount of money at Dan's Fish. I can't do anything simply. I have to go like full crazy when I do it. It's just the way my life is and my hobbies. All right. Nabokov fan, I shipped out fish today and got a box in, and it was DOA. Apart from that, major stuff going on in the fish room, and it feels awesome. How is the process of updating yours going? Ooh, so last like 3 weeks, month, it's more than that now, geez. I'm getting close to about a month and a half. I have been working a ton. And especially the last 3 weeks, I've been working overtime. So I have been working very regularly until 7, 8 o'clock at night. I'm actually doing my best to ignore my phone because I have a bunch of alerts going off and I can see them out of my corner of my eye. But we're getting really close on a very critical deadline. And it is like we hit the first iceberg and then we're like, cool, we somehow made it through. The Titanic hasn't sunk. Oh, look, another iceberg. Oh, look, another iceberg. And it's like, mother butler, dude, we cannot get past these big blocking issues that are basically blocking me from doing really critical work that now has a daily update email going to my boss's boss and his boss, which is pretty high up the leadership chain. Because my boss's boss is the head of all devs. And then his boss is the head of all of game growth, which is like my division. So he's up there, right? There's only like one guy he reports to above that. And then after that, you're getting into like senior VPs and then the CEO. That's it. So it's fairly high up the chain, right? And there's a certain amount of like anxiety and stress that comes with that. So naturally, what I've actually been doing in my fish room, other than like stuff I'm doing for videos and I'm trying to make progress here and there. So like I moved some fish so that I can tear that one tank down. And I'm hoping to empty it this weekend after I get home from my trip to redfish bluefish. And I have another tank I need to set up underneath Fallen Forest. I got to finish cleaning off. I use that temporarily for a lot of stuff. So I got to finish cleaning off that part of the rack and then move the tank in. Because I have the tank. It's just a bare bones, brand new 40-gallon breeder that has to come in. And then I have a whole lot of substrate and stuff I have to watch for it. And that will probably take me another, like, I don't know, 2 weeks-ish. Just because of weather, time, things like that, and where my deadlines are at work. What I've been spending a lot of my time in, what few hours I have where I'm not trying to spend it with like my wife or my dogs or just doing generic fishery maintenance like filters and water changes, I've spent a lot of time sitting watching that one little baby rainbow fish in Fallen Forest. Because I can sit on my stool that's in there and just kind of rotate between that guy, running river rainbows, and then spin all the way around and look at the Guppy mansion. And I can kind of tilt this way, and there's the angelfish over there. So I've been kind of spacing out a little bit. I will be fully honest with you. Because it helps me not be stressed in a time where my stress level should be through the effing roof. Because, again, I have a daily update email that has basically been going, okay, the fire has moved from cinders to small blaze. It is now from a lighter to a campfire. Here's the problem that we've run into now, right? And anytime you have, or at least for me, anytime I have that level of visibility on problems that are outside of my control, it is very stressful. And they know that I'm doing everything, and the team that I'm working with is doing everything we can to fix these problems, right? But woo, it only does so much to bring your nerves down. So I have honestly spent probably more time than I normally would just spacing out staring at a fish tank. Now, to be fair, watching that little baby rainbow fish in there grow up has been very fun. Because now it's 2 months old, closing in on like 2.5, and it no longer, the second it sees me coming in the room, darts away and runs and hides. Now it realizes, like, it knows I'm food. I bring the food, so it comes and it like darts back and forth in front of me, and it's doing its thing. And especially when I was changing the filter, right, when I was taking that sponge filter out and getting the F-Zone Fancy Boy set up. And I know I'm going into a really long story time, chat. I'm almost done. We'll get back to your questions. You guys know how I am. I talk too much. But it was very interesting to see this fish go, like, dart up toward my hand, then dart away, not sure what's going on. So it's not too used to the hands. It usually sees, like, tongs barely dusting a little bit of small powdered food in there. And I've only recently started feeding a different food to that fish every like third day. So, needless to say, I've been having a lot of fun raising a single rainbow fish baby in a 40-gallon tank that's high-tech. It's kind of dumb, but it's been helping with the stress at work, so that's been nice. But the goal is to break down that other tank, get the other brand new tank in. I will rinse all of its substrate, get it going, and set up for its special filtration testing. Using very, very, very high tech, the highest tech possible filter you could get, the most amazing technology straight from the 50s. So, for those who probably figured that out, if you've been watching. But, yeah, that's where I'm sitting right now. Updates are slow, but steady, because I am working on stuff. It's just not the pace I probably would like to. Not the pace I'd probably like to. Let me see if I missed anything else. Oh. Paul Saltero, Bentley, have you given up on that monster canister under the 40 yet? No, actually, the F-Zone Fancy Boy, I figured out that if I keep water levels at a certain point and I keep it at 1, I really don't suck in very much air. And there are several things in its like natural pause feature that are built into its controller because it's a DC controlled pump that make that thing really appealing. Now, in like 2 months when I have to service it for the first time, that's when we'll know whether or not I hate that thing. Because those latches are quite strong. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to like bash one of my fingers trying to open that stupid thing up. But just the question becomes like, in that time, it should get actual fish, not just the one baby rainbow and some autosynkless, but the actual fish that are meant to go in there is relatively soon. And then that'll start building a proper bioload and enough extra fish food and that kind of stuff getting in there. We'll see, like, you know, how much of a bear is it servicing that thing? Do I start seeing any kind of flow reduction or anything like that as it starts getting gunk in the sponges and things like that, right? We'll start seeing that probably in like about a month, I would think, is where I should start seeing any signs of where it's not just like a really nice experience. Because thus far, other than it is fairly expensive and you've got to buy all the stuff to go with it, it's really nice. I really wish more canister filters, even to an extent, hang-on backs would start looking at DC controllable pumps. The saltwater guys have been using these things forever in their sumps. There are a few, like, the biggest thing I was looking forward to, as an example, in that Sun bucket of bolts that I hate, but a lot of people come and be like, "You're just the it's the most amazing thing ever." It's because it was a DC controllable pump. So I have a, in theory, higher quality pump in this thing where I have much more control. And you guys know me when it comes to lighting. I'm a control freak. So naturally, if I can control a pump and get things exactly the way I want it, I'm gonna, right? But it sucked. and F-Zone Fancy Boy does not so far. So it's been really nice having the potential to play around with it and use some of the features. Like when I go to feed baby fish, I just call it baby fish right now, I just put the pump on pause for 10 minutes. I dust the top of the water with some food. I watch baby fish like go hog wild eating. And then I can walk away, and I know when that 10 minutes is up, it's just going to fire right back up. I'm not going to have any issues. Because DC controllable pumps are amazing like that. I don't have to go and unplug the thing and replug the thing or mess with a Casa Wi-Fi timer. None of that stuff. It's just a button I press once. Bam. Done. Wonderful. But when maintenance comes along, we'll know whether or not I feel the same. Because the biggest thing I've realized about the maintenance on that is I go diving for another question here. There's no handle to easily carry that canister around. And we made the joke about how heavy that thing is, but full of water, it's got some oomph to it. It's a big canister. So with no handle to help you grip it, it just has a thin metal lip, and then otherwise you got to get underneath the whole thing and carry it like you're carrying out a small dog, right? So we'll see. Caitlin DeRozier, have you ever had issues with CO2 and pH? I would love to do CO2 in my new 75, but my pH is already so low. The fact that it's a possibility that CO2 could mess with my pH makes me a tad nervous. So yes, I've had fairly soft acidic tanks, so low pH, and use CO2. And all I did is I just put in low dose CO2. I have long preached what I call the American barbecue method of CO2, which is low and slow. I don't gas a tank a ton. Like even Fallen Forest, which is getting the highest amount of CO2 I have put into any tank of its size, is only getting 3 bubbles a second. which is nothing. Nothing for a 40-gallon tank. Does it dip the CO2 a little bit? Yes, kind of. That's part of the way that pH interacts with gaseous CO2. But it's not something that is so much, especially if you keep the CO2 levels low, that your fish can't handle. And if your pH is already fairly low, one thing that you can do is add a small amount of crushed coral. Not a lot. You don't need to go like, Corey normally suggests something like a pound per 10 gallons. You don't need anything like that. You could put something in like a handful, right? Just enough to add a little extra buffer so that it's not dipping too low. Just monitor your KH. As long as your KH is still okay, your carbonate hardness, don't stress about it. You'll be okay. It won't crash your pH so much that it's dangerous. Just keep your CO2 levels low. I mean, like, seriously, you could do something, if you're at like a 40-gallon tank, you could do like a bubble per second. It's not a lot of CO2, right? But that little bit of CO2 is enough to boost your plant growth and boost your density. And 2 bubbles in a 40-gallon? I've done that with my old Plants for Profit tank, was about 3 bubbles every 2 seconds. So it's about 1.5 bubbles a second. And I used to grow plants like gangbusters in that thing. But it's not a ton of CO2. It doesn't take a lot of CO2 to get an effect. You will see high levels of CO2 in those like huge aquascaping tanks because their goal is to like go hog wild with it in a short period of time. If you're trying to set your tank up for long-term success with CO2, bring that CO2 level down. You don't need super high CO2. A little bit goes a long way. So Caitlin, I hope that helps out. All right, now we'll try to catch up to Chad after 2 long rants. There's the big jump. Anthony Roybal, is your phone number the same as years ago? Yes. If you still have it, it's still the same one. Lumpy Doc. We're supposed to service canister filters? Oh, snap. Oh, man. Aaron Daniels, I got 3 Amazon puffers. 2 of them are eating bug bites, and the other one is only eating frozen brine mysis bloodworms. None of them will touch the ram's horn snails or Apache with oyster shell. So I would say, like Aaron, in your case, how long have you waited before giving up and going back to the other food? And the reason why I say that is, I think Corey's had one of the best analogies I've heard on this. Is like, if you give your fish a candy bar, right? If you give someone a candy bar and you give them a candy bar, and then you offer them this healthy thing of broccoli, they're probably going to want that candy bar again. Which, like, our prepared foods and our frozen foods are kind of like that. Where ram's horn snails and Rapache kind of force them to do a little bit of work, right? But if you remove those other foods for enough time, they're going to get hungry and they're going to eat. And then they'll start eating snails. And the other thing you could try doing is like picking up a ram's horn snail with like a pair of tongs. And what I've seen some people do when their puffers are being real finicky is they'll crack the shell a little bit, which kills the snail, right? And then on the tongs, put it near their puffer. And often they can train their puffer to get used to it, and then they'll start hunting them more actively. As for the Apache, I guess it would depend on which Rapache you're using, because maybe it's just changing the formula a little bit and adding something that has some kind of smell that entices them more. Because you could, in theory, like grind up some of the bug bites and put it in there, and if they're eating that, maybe that smell will get in the water and get them interested in the other foods. Just some thoughts, just some ideas. See, hopefully one of those helps. Some people are discussing a certain type of filtration in chat. I think it's about time we need to mention a few things. One, if you haven't already, hashtag RFBF, redfish, bluefish, is sponsoring this lovely giveaway of 4 clown angelfish. These are 2 of the fish you will receive, pictured here. They're roughly about the size of your palm in size, and some of them are already trying to pair up. They will be sent one night express overnight shipping to you, all for free, for entering the giveaway, courtesy of Redfish Bluefish .shop, my buddy Jason and his store. They're celebrating basically a little over 2 years now, doing some cool stuff. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him this weekend and getting a catch up. We'll probably do a video with Jason, all those kind of things about how the shop's doing, what's new, what's going on, what we could expect in the future, all those kind of things. Will he get back on YouTube? He's been super busy. But yeah, if you haven't done that already, we got a number of people. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes, and then we're probably slamming this bad boy down and giving it away. And then if you haven't... Whoa. Oh, that created a very strange... That created a very strange link. 1 second. Here. And then another thing that I'm going to give some love to, because he was in the chat earlier, but the Amazon Research Center of Ornamental Fishes, aka our good friend Dr. Mazeral's group, is running a raffle, their 2nd annual raffle. There's a link in chat for you. If you want to buy some raffle tickets, it supports the center, but they will be giving away a trip for 2 to go to Peru. So you have an opportunity to go down to the Amazon Research Center, do some amazing things in Peru, see all these beautiful fish from the Amazon that we have in our aquariums and in their natural environments, and learn lots of things, all courtesy of the Amazon Research Center. And then, of course, your raffle tickets support that center, keep it going, all the amazing projects they do, all that kind of wonderful stuff. Just giving them love. I don't get anything for this. I just love Dr. Maz. So a little extra there. So we got a giveaway and a potential raffle if you want to join up and have a chance to win a trip to Peru, which some would say lifetime experience, right? Once in a lifetime. I would say that. I would. And John Manro, thank you. Like in the discussion about CO2, a really good quality CO2 diffuser really does make a difference, especially doing like Bentley's low and slow method. So yeah. Tom H, hashtag RFBF will enter you in the drawing we're about to do to give away 4 clown angelfish. These beautiful fish right here in this picture in the corner the whole time. They've just been hovering, swimming near my head. Overnight shipped directly to you for 0 American pesos, absolutely free, courtesy of Redfish Bluefish. So yeah, for those of you who have ever wanted to go to Peru and do like wild caught fish, learn about those things, maybe visit the Amazon Research Center. The raffle is your chance. The raffle is your chance. All right. I think we've babbled enough about this. I think it's time we do some giveaway stuff. Don't you think? Don't you think? Let's see here. We have 71 eligible users in chat. Hold on. Make sure that mods are eligible. For some reason that caused issues. What do you... There we go. More eligible users. Make sure you get your RFBF in chat. Go, 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 go. Go, 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 go. A 3, a 2, a 1. Oh, I should probably, like, I don't know, show this window, right? I mean, that's what a smart YouTuber would do. Bonk. Ready? Let's do this thing. Jeff Kane. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to make sure you're here in chat. Mr. Jeff, you have potentially won beautiful, beautiful angelfish. Waiting for it. I'm going to watch chat over here. There it is. I see him. I see that Guppy by his name, too. That's how I know you're a member. Look at that. whoop. All right, Jeff. All you have to do is send an email to me, bentley.pasco@gmail.com. And then I'm going to put you in touch with Jason, and he will make sure that your fish are on the way to you. I know, totally rigged. A member won. Bentley's cheating. Congratulations, Jeff. Enjoy those fish. Hopefully you breed them, because they're already trying to pair up, apparently. So, I don't win giveaways, not bought is broken. Well, if you don't want them, Jeff, I mean, I can re-roll. Oh, man. I kid. All right, congratulations, Jeff. Congratulations. But again, yeah, shoot me an email, bentley.pasco@gmail.com. Please breed these beautiful fish that came straight from Poland, and you'll be all right. Or, if you got a local, like, turbo breeder like I do, just, like, send them over their way for a couple spawns, then bring them home and enjoy them, right? I may or may not have done that with some fish I got recently. My Aikidos tiger plecos. They showed up at my house. They stayed in their box. They just went into my warm fish room and immediately went over to my friend that same night and was like, "Here you go, Alyssa. Please breed these." Oh. Caitlin DeRocha, are you planning on going to the GSAS meeting next week? Yes. So that's our home show happened, and they're doing the home show and awards. Usually that's a faster meeting, which is kind of nice. So okay, let me clarify. As long as my work doesn't iceberg me any further, I will be going. I'm really hoping that work will not be an issue. Apparently, so they bred already. We've seen behavior, but we haven't seen any confirmed babies yet. So we're hoping soon. It'd be nice to have some baby Aikidos tiger plecos. Well, I'll breed them. I just need a place to sell them. Jeff, I like your moxie. I like it. All right. Let's see here. Let's grab like one or two more questions before we end this night. Let's see. There's the Aaron Davis. My water is already very hard in Cleveland, Ohio. My KH between 40 and 80 ppm. What would be my best option to raise KH without putting my pH through the roof? So if you already have relatively good KH, I wouldn't worry about it too much. If you keep that CO2 kind of low, right? I wouldn't stress on it, Aaron. I wouldn't stress. It was if you didn't have very much carbon hardness at all, that's where I would worry. Because then you're dipping even lower, and that's where you risk a crash. But if you have relatively good carbon hardness, I wouldn't stress. Chance Larson, no Geno Smith slander. Actually, okay. You brought it out. You brought football. I see Mike Stanbaugh talking some S. Buddy, you know I love you. I see your Seahawks throwing $105 million to a mediocre QB. So we have a good run game. We don't need a crazy quarterback. We need a reliable quarterback that doesn't cost us too much money so we can build the rest of the pieces we need to put a very competitive team back on the field. When the Seahawks were at their best was when Russell Wilson was in his rookie contracts and didn't cost a ludicrous amount of money. They're getting Geno Smith at a very, very low cost for a quarterback. So they can even draft, potentially, a quarterback this year or next year, right? And still be okay to train up a young guy as long as Geno keeps playing well. He played consistent, and that's what matters. They just need consistency because they've got several good running backs, so they have a good run game. They've got great receivers. They just need a quarterback that doesn't give up a lot of interceptions. It's really all they need. They fix a couple other pieces, and they have a super competitive team almost immediately. And if you look at how they drafted last year, if they draft very similarly this year, they get very scary very fast. I think it's a very smart move. You don't want to chase like some marquee quarterback that will cost you 45, 50 million a year, because then you have no cap space to pay anybody else. And you run into the same problems that every other team has, where they're like, let's pay that guy $1 billion. We can't afford anybody else, but he'll do all the work on his own, right? No. Football's a team sport, baby. And how that works. Jeff Kane, 10 gifted memberships. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Laura, yeah, if you enable it, though, when the next set of gifts come through, you'll be open to it. I've had that happen on a couple of channels. I was like, I'm not enabled. I can't get a gifted one. And if it doesn't give out all 10 right away, sometimes you get lucky. So, Charisse, what does it mean by aquarium crash? Great question. Actually, I think this will be our last question for that. This is a good question. Because often we'll refer to an aquarium crash, but we don't necessarily explain what that means, right? There are a number of different ways that an aquarium can crash. Most commonly what happens is the pH, which we've been testing our pH and it's sitting at 7.2, let's say, for a long time. And then all of a sudden we start seeing a problem. And if we go test and we test our water, and all of a sudden our pH is like 5.8, or it's so low that the test can't even read it, right? That's the most common form of aquarium crash. Now, the way that this happens is that as the natural biological process occurs, right, where we're converting our fish waste, that ammonia, into nitrite, and then eventually bacteria is converting that nitrite into nitrate, this process actually consumes some other things that are in your water at the same time. It doesn't just consume the ammonia and nitrite. And one of the things it starts taking away at is what we call your KH, or carbonate hardness. And yes, as Nabokov fan said, Aquarium Co-op has a really great video about this. But as your carbonate hardness starts to go down, especially if you naturally have very little carbonate hardness in your water, like I do here in Washington, it can no longer, what we call, buffer your pH. So carbonate hardness, the important reason why we care about that number, is it keeps your pH stable. But when you start getting to 2 or 3 degrees of carbonate hardness or lower, and by ppm, that's something like, I think 40, no, it's less than that. It's fairly low. It's like 20 ppm of carbonate hardness or lower. It's not enough to sustain your pH. And then you can have these big pH swings that cause your water to become very acidic. And if your fish are not naturally able to handle that, or that very quick change can cause a lot of stress in your fish and temporarily weaken their immune system, which can allow other things like bacteria or funguses and things like that to take over that they naturally fight off very well. So this is the first and most common type of crash in an aquarium. And then if it goes too low, there's some other things that happens. If the pH dips too low for too long a period of time, the water stays too acidic, your beneficial bacteria in your filter colony, in your filtration, right? And that's all over your tank and all the surfaces, but mainly we care about it in your filter. It can't survive reliably under a certain pH. Once the water gets to a certain level of acidity, that bacteria will just die off naturally, and now you no longer have anything processing your ammonia. So often when we see a pH crash, it's not necessarily the pH crash that's the big problem. It's that if it occurs long enough, it wipes out your beneficial bacteria, and now you'll start accumulating lots of ammonia and get to very toxic levels of ammonia, and that will kill your fish. Right? That's really like the true crash that happens, is when you get to that stage. when your water gets so acidic that the bacteria can no longer survive. Yeah, sure, he's happy. I hope that helps explain that. There's a couple other types of crashes that occur. They're extremely rare, but that's the most common case and what's going on. The easiest way to fix that problem, if you have naturally soft water like I do, you're in the Northwest and you got a lot of that rain and glacier water that has like nothing in it, just add a buffer, and we usually use like crushed coral, and you can use like aragonite. There's a lot of other things that they will add mineral content and especially a little bit of carbon hardness to your water, and that helps sustain and maintain your pH, so you just don't have to worry about it. It's a very like set it and forget it kind of mentality. Wait, I have my first child due next Thursday. Congratulations. I should really not buy any fish at this weekend's local fish club auction where Dean is speaking, right? I mean, it's Dean. Maybe it's that you get the fish as a celebration of your newly welcomed first child. Yeah. If you see something, you just got to have. I understand, right? When Gary Lang first came to my fish club for the first time while I was a member, no one was getting between me and certain fish. It was just not going to happen. But seriously, congratulations. Congratulations. Guys, that's going to do it for this week. Most likely I will not be on next week. I'm most likely going to my club's meeting. So I'll probably put together a Q&A video like we've done in the past. So be looking on the community tab. Hopefully you guys can't hear the sirens in the background. I left my window open. Meh. But they're coming to get me. Giving bad fish advice. Oh, man. But anyway, the community tab will do a question and answer thing. So if you have questions, I'll answer them in that video. And then, as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. And stay awesome. And congratulations, Jeff. Make sure you email me. Don't forget.